you for jumping on. I know you're a busy
Of
man.
course.
Really
Yeah, I love talking to people.
appreciate the time. So, yeah, as Dustin said, we've shifted our focus to really build on the back of Go High Level and service small businesses. We had a number of small businesses coming to us. We couldn't really serve them on a custom agency level. So we built a platform on the back of Go High Level to do, I think, what your mission is, go from lead to customer. That's really what
100%.
what our goal has been to try to work with customers to do that and give them the best tools to do that. So given that, that's been our goal in building what we're building. What are your current goals with Go High Level, and where are you going on a bigger picture level to pull back initially? Excuse me. Where are you going with it, and has anything pivoted or shifted in the last, let's say, year or so?
Well, I mean, I would say the overriding theme is the most important thing. The model, I would say models matter. And what I mean by that is, our original premise that, software tools by themselves are not all that is required for success. And you really need to have people who can harness those tools on behalf of their customers and actually create solutions is still the name of the game. So that epiphany is still just as relevant today, I think, as ever. And so for me, it's really about getting this model out to more and more people so that they can take advantage of it and honestly give the kinds of resources and help and outcomes that the businesses that they serve need, versus the traditional model that, we're still very entrenched in the traditional model of I'm gonna have a salesperson call a small business and sell them a tool, and once I make that sale, I'm going to disappear into the dark. Hope it all works out for them. But and hopefully I can get them, I can sucker them into an annual contract so that when they figure out they can't use it, that I still get my money. And I think that is something we're very much seeing how to change. And I think it's allowing, really honestly, in our case, the Sass-preneur and the small business to benefit. So that hasn't changed, but it's just about doing it all, more and more and getting that out. I would say specific to that, internationalization is a big trend for us. We originally did the ChatGPT translation bit, and while I was very hopeful, it didn't quite hit the mark. So we're just now coming back out with basically we used a company that specializes in this. So we are coming out with 12 different languages, and it's a combination of AI and humans. And so I see huge gains there internationally. We've also launched payment methods in a bunch of other countries, and then the final piece of that will be forthcoming, which is automating the taxes. So that'll be big. But on the feature side, it is really cool because it's funny. Dustin was saying we haven't talked since 2020, and I remember those days. There were a bunch of really big, obvious things that I wanted now on. Really, instead of building out a lot of the marketing stuff, we're now starting to build out a lot of the operations stuff. So think invoicing, accounting integrations, like, complex booking flows. I think in 2025, you'll see us start to go a little bit into project management. What I will say has definitely shifted, though, is our focus on AI. So I'm really ecstatic about the inbound voice AI we just launched. I think it's a huge game changer for every small business. I spent my first business out of college. Well, actually, I dropped out of college to start, was an answering service. And as cool as that sounds, what I learned was, we grew that from start to 5,000 small businesses, all inbound. So these are doctors, plumbers, all rollover calls. And every business we ever signed up was missing calls right in the middle of the day. And those calls were always people trying to give them money. And at the time, we used to say, for $99 a month, you can get 24/7, 365 coverage. At 2 a.m., we'll pick up and take that call. Well, now we can do this with AI quite successfully. And I think it'll be a very cool way to basically have the same impact for a lot less money, even and a lot more scalable. I mean, we had 400 agents or something, and even there, you still hit busy spots where we always had a service level, and you would try to get, I think it was no more than 60 seconds or something. But now with AI, it's 0 seconds, right? And it's infinitely scalable. And so I'm really excited to see the impact that has on all the small businesses on the platform.
We were just testing it out the other day and giving it a whirl, and we probably have 3 to 4 clients who are constantly trying to solve that problem too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
It's and you know, and I've seen the reviews. I mean, it's getting really good reviews from all kinds of different places, and so I'm pretty hopeful that it'll work for you guys.
yeah, we're excited to test it out. I mean, literally, people before you guys roll it out were coming to us saying, "I got a client," and we actually serve middlemen sometimes as well. I got a client, they don't answer the phone, they need to pick up these hours, and they're
Yep.
really terrible at getting back to people and all that. So it's perfect use case for us.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and
yeah,
it doesn't require. I mean, we used to missed call text back was crushing it. And to be fair, it's still very effective. But with A2P 10 DLC, particularly when you're trying to get a new client, it's hard to say to tell them all this stuff and then say, hey, it'll take 5 to 7 business days to get your A2P 10 DLC approved. Now, we did just announce that we now have accelerated A2P across the system, so we got it down to 2 days, which I'm pretty excited about because we've got a kind of a special agreement now with the carriers to bump our stuff above. It's a pay to play, but we get our requests above other people, so that's cool. We kind of get in the fast lane, but still,
right.
having to wait at all to get started with something is never good. So the calls don't require ATP 10 DLC because that's just SMS. And
Mm,
then I also think the benefit there is if the customer's already on the modality of calls, it's nice to keep them there, serve them there, and just kind of keep it flowing. And you can also do it busy, no answer call forwarding it. And that's the most important part about it actually, is instead of going to the business owner and saying, look, we need to change out a number or move stuff around or whatever, it's more like, no, just like hit, I don't forgot what it is, *76 or something, have like a help doc on this. And you put in the high level number, and then what it does is it rings them, whatever, 3 or 4 times. And if they don't pick it up, then it rolls. So you're like, look, if you get every call every time, like you tell yourself you do, you're going to be great. And you'll never pay us a dime and it'll never roll over. But invariably, what's going to happen, of course, is they're going to miss calls all the time. And the AI is going to pick it up and they're going to love those results.
nice, nice. Well, speaking our language, Dustin's smiling over there. I love it. Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, how would you define a Sass-preneur?
A Sass-preneur, and I'll give credit where credit's due. I'm the least creative person you'll ever meet, but I'm very good at listening to other people's good ideas and taking them for my own. So this one I got from Mike Cooch actually. A Sass-preneur, if you think about it, a marketing agency is on one end of the spectrum doing really bespoke custom services. Whether they admit to that or not is a different story, but that is really what it breaks down to. And then on the other end, a tools vendor, a software company, is just selling a tool, a hammer, a saw, or that kind of thing. I think of Sass-preneur as the hybrid between them. They're really saying, look, I'm going to create a consistent outcome utilizing technology tools to make it scalable. So you're really saying, listen, I'm going to get you more 5-star reviews on Google, or I'm going to answer your inbound phone calls. But instead of doing it as a bespoke custom thing every single time, or instead of selling you the components of what if you spent, countless, hours, maybe years to learn, you too could construct for yourself. Oh, by the way, while you're running a business, doing something else and continuing to be an expert in something else, all of which doesn't make any sense. A Sass-preneur is that person in the middle who's, is really getting at that outcome, using technology to enable it. And the benefit, of course, for them is it's incredibly scalable and they can build a great business. The benefit for the small business owner is if you look at the cost there, it's still within band such that it's a utility bill that they're paying. It's $300 a month or something versus $3,000 a month or $10,000 a month, which they can't afford. And it's not $300 a month. Here's a tool and no outcome. So it's a beautiful pairing of the two, I think.
Yeah, yeah. In an unknown bucket of time for someone to learn how to do it or scale themselves up, continually learn how to be on the platform, etc.
Yeah.
How do you guys look at you seem to do a really good job at educating your clients on the platform. And do you have a strategic approach for how you approach educating your customers, the agencies who are using this? Because we're kind of running into a similar thing where we at least need to do some education for our clients on things to do on the platform, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do you approach that piece of educating your clients? You do a great job with videos, materials, webinars, etc. Do you guys have an actual strategic map of how you do that? And if so,
We might. That's a good question. I don't know. I will say it has been a journey though. So when we first started, go all the way back. I mean, my YouTube videos are about as terrible as they've ever been, but it used to just be me and the YouTube channel. And it was because I was just like, gosh, we have a new feature. How do I get the word out? And then over time, one thing that is for sure, one stance we have never changed is we definitely feel like in every subject matter, there's an expert out there that doesn't have anything to do with us, who we really want to bring in and expose to our community to help understand a lot of the strategy behind this. So we still do this today. So that was kind of our second building block, is how do we find people who can come in and help us, get this information and strategy out. And I think we've definitely, there's a really good mechanism there now, where I think we've got like a 3-day workshop format that's working very, very well, where I feel like it's long enough that that person isn't coming in and just winging it. They really have to bite down and come up with a really good amount of information, but it's not killing them so that they're, sort of taking weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to prepare. So it's a nice hybrid there. And then what we've realized over time is, we're going to overlay that with our own internal folks. And then we also have the content army, which is really cool. And because I think what you realize is there are different types of personalities, right? You'll meet the people who say, oh, I hate tech, I don't know anything about tech, but boy, do I love strategy or coming up with offers or whatever it is, right? And then you have the people on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like I couldn't sell, I couldn't sell anything. I could sell my way out of a paper bag. And that's me, but I'm super techie and I really love the tech. And so we have this thing called the content army, where people will come in and do like a technical video around something, or setup or whatever. And so if you blend these two together, you get this beautiful pairing, right? Of these people who are just talking straight strategy. You get some people who are just doing tech, and sometimes you get people in the middle for sure. But I think what's really important about it, I suppose, is the creativity of the community is the most important thing, right? So you're not relying on one person or getting one personality. It's not becoming like stale, because everybody's going to like somebody else for some reason. So some of those videos you're going to just start and be like, I can't stand this person's voice. I get a lot of those comments on my YouTube videos, like, can this guy shut up or slow down, or preferably stop talking? So you always have to have other people to listen to that I think provide different perspectives.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, we are we're in the midst of figuring that out ourselves. So
yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend, how can you tap your community, because you invariably have experts there or people who have passion behind something. And if you can, if you have to pay them, like that's cool. That's probably the right thing to do, right? But if you can really, get them excited about it and put them on the stage, they'll probably do better. And it's more scalable, because invariably you can't do everything.
Right. Absolutely. No, we agree completely. You and Dustin talked previously about the kind of the product to service mix with agencies. You talked about it a little bit before as well.
Yeah.
Do you see it? Do you see some of your clients as being kind of black and white, like Sass-preneur, or they're like full service? Do you see a blend with some of your clients?
We've always prided ourselves in not being dictatorial in the way the platform is built. So you can still be a traditional marketing agency if that's what you want. Back in 2020, when Dustin and I first talked, I was probably still a little cagey about my recommendation, but these days I'm very clear, because I've seen enough success to know, like, people doing bespoke marketing services. I mean, you're running a hobby business or something. Like, if you love it, that's fantastic, but just look yourself in the mirror and admit you're doing, like, running as a business, you're running it in a very unscalable way, and you will never escape that unscalability. That is just the case. Now, that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that's a wrong decision for you. It just means that's what it is. But fundamentally, early on, we tried to I think this was our journey, is, we met all of you where you stood, and what we were trying to do is make your businesses more efficient. And I think we succeeded in that to a great extent. And to be fair, I didn't invent the Sass-preneur model. My customers did. So I just kept getting on with a lot of smart people and watching them evolve the model right out from under me, using the tools that we had put out there. And as always, our community is the genius behind our business, and we just follow. I mean, again, another great idea to steal. I just, watched enough really smart people I respected start selling high level on a monthly basis as a SaaS product, and we just realized that's the future. And this was a while ago, and now I can tell you countless stories from zero to hero, and from people who already had big audiences and everywhere in between. Selling a technology enabled scalable outcome to a small business is what they're craving and what they want. They don't want to spend the kind of money, because they, in many cases can't afford to, but let's just say they don't want to spend the kind of money that a bespoke agency will charge. So you're going to need to come to market with a service that scales. And if you don't, you're going to fundamentally, there's always going to be people. I think about like custom cars, right? There'll be somebody out there who will pay you to build them a car from scratch. Just not that many. So you got to be you're really going to be at the top of your game, or you're going to need to do something like all the rest of the car manufacturers do, which is sell the same model to millions and millions of people many times over, because that's what's scalable, right? So we need to do that here in the marketing game as well.
There's so many, especially now with what you guys are doing, there's so many subsections of products within GoHighLevel that you can build, right? It's even like its own ecosystem of, you could build 100, we could build 100 different products with,
oh yeah, 100%,
alone. So there's even a little bit of a conundrum of this model. What do we focus on? Because we want to keep it tight with customers as well, and we want to give them the things that are going to get them to the end the best possible way.
Yep.
Right? Do you see some of your customers grappling with that, or gravitating towards
all the time, which is why I would say we have our 5-day challenge, and it's been pivoted to inbound voice AI, because that is a question I get all the time. Where do I start? You guys have a million features. So now I would say go out, sell to local businesses, sell them inbound voice AI, period, full stop. You just created an entire business. You just picked up, you're picking up remnant business that they're missing. You're turning it to customers. You're doing so automatically. It's a win for them. It's a win for you. It's scalable. There you go. That's where you start. Now, what you do from there is up to you. And over time, we'll probably start being a little more prescriptive there, and trying to help people formulate those plans. But I still am laser focused on making sure that day one, if you say to me, I have no business, I live in my mom's basement, what do I do? That's where I'm gonna have a place to send you to be successful. And then, from there we'll continue to move up. And, these days though, we bifurcate quite heavily. I mean, you'll get those folks, but you'll also get a lot of people now who are saying, I'm a HubSpot user or Keep user or something. How do I move over to high level? So we're, and I think we've successfully built a very robust platform, and we now have a feature set that matches some of the biggest, baddest CRMs out there, for a radically lower price, plus all the other features they don't have, all in one spot. And so we're seeing a ton of movement. So we're working hard. We'll see this a lot in Q1, but we'll work hard on adding more importers all over the system, because we just have a lot of people coming in from other products.
Nice. Yeah, well, we're on your team because we're working with clients that are still on some of those platforms, and half the time we're like, why are you using this still?
Yeah, well, I mean, most of the time it's an annual contract, but the nice thing is they always come up for renewal, and when they get hit with the $4,000 a month for a 12-month bill, all of a sudden the 97 or 300 or whatever sounds a lot more appealing, and it's a good time to move them over. But we also find, we call it the +1 strategy. So the way we do it is, you're like, oh yeah, just go ahead and keep, HubSpot. That's cool. But hey, what about that inbound voice AI that you don't have, or that, web chat widget you don't have, or the whatever, right? And you can put them on it, and then all of a sudden they start to use the product, and they're like, oh, interesting. This has all the things that I use over here. How much is that again? And then, that's sort of like, because no one likes that friction up front, and we get that. So the worst thing you could ever do is say, oh, you really need to move over, even though you haven't begun. But it just happens naturally. They use it for 6 months, and all of a sudden they're like, this is nuts. I need to just, move over to this one system. So that's what we're finding people do.
I like that. I like the +1. Dustin, I don't want to take the entire microphone. So do you have any questions that came up while we were talking, or questions that you had in mind that you wanted to ask Shaun as well?
Yeah, so one, love how you've gone directly after agencies as opposed to the small business owner. I mean, I have a few thoughts on why and the impacts, but what got you to do that? And do you plan to go more direct to small business, direct to business owners in the future?
So what got us there is simple. We we realized early on selling to small businesses that it wasn't going to work. So we had a lot of people, we were selling direct to SMBs, and they kept coming back and saying they didn't have time to learn the solution and the product. And so we realized, like, okay, this isn't going to work. And we were lucky that we got a cold call from an agency who, the guy's name is Robin Alex, and he's now our third co-founder. But he really opened our eyes to the fact that if you want to help small business, you need to help the unsung heroes behind the scenes that are already doing that, which really were the agencies. And so we haven't changed that philosophy since the beginning. Now, I would say what we have done is seen a bigger vision of, well, wait a second, what if you don't think of yourself as an agency? What if you're just starting? What if you're a consultant, this kind of thing? And so this is where the Sass-preneur concept that came in. But there's still a fundamental truism here where, I even think with the greatest of AI tools and so forth, it's still not going to ever become a world where a tool unto itself will create the solution that the small business needs. And so while we are big enough that we could go easily at the small business directly, I think the reason we're here and we're winning and we have grown so quickly is because we're actually creating great outcomes for all parties. And if I look at my competitors, that's what they do. They go direct to the SMB. So and I see them as those models as failing. And so fundamentally, I don't want to join them in that stupidity. So I'm going to stick to what I'm doing because I feel like I'm actually. The funny part about it is I really think that original idea is still just as true as it's ever been, which is I want to help the small business. I don't want to just sell them crap that they can't use or things that they pay for and they get frustrated about. If I really want to help them, I do need to have somebody else in the mix who is there every day helping them not only through the tool, but also helping them take that tool to an outcome, which is really what they all want. I mean, they don't buy any of those other products for any other reason. They are hopeful that they can grow their business or get more 5-star reviews or have a faster website or get a higher rank on Google or whatever it is, right? And that is the thing that they are trying to achieve by buying those tools. And so but I don't think there's ever a world where you wake up and the tool does it for you. And so as a result, we will continue to focus on the people that serve the small business, not the small business itself.
I loved your analogy. You guys talked about the accountant, and you can do your own books, you can take care of all your own money, you can do all that, but you're probably going to mess it up. So
every place I've ever, they call it do-it-yourself, like a do-it-yourselfer job. They call that for, it's like anytime I've ever seen a house or, somebody try to like a do-it-yourself remodel job, you often would say, well, it's fine, but it's not quite, it's like you can just tell. And then, all the way up to, oh, you know what, actually retiling the shower yourself is cool and all, but now that it leaks and then there's like water coming through your kitchen ceiling, that's no good, right? So I just think, again, everywhere in life, we are all very cognizant of this in other places. It just hasn't yet. And again, it's a marketing pitch. It's, if, and I guess to some extent, this probably happens in other places. I suspect DeWalt Tools would not tell you that, homeowners shouldn't be buying their products. But, if your goal is to get an outcome, oftentimes you really want to make sure that DeWalt tool is in the hands of an expert. And, mileage will vary, but if it's anything other than, something simple, I highly recommend you don't try to do it yourself. And it's funny because I just saw, I think it was Lowe's or something, they're putting a ton of money, billions of dollars into trying to expand their pro program. And I think it's because, there's just more and more of an acknowledgement of this. And I think something like this will happen in software as well. And this is what we're here for. Because again, I think the competition is still on the, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Plumber, you need to buy our product. In fact, Service Titan just announced their IPO yesterday. They released their S1, and I wasn't at all surprised to find that despite hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue, they still lose money. And it's because they spend, and I haven't, I'll guess on this one, but I'll go read it later today. My bet is most of that money is burned up in sales and marketing because they're just trying to force the message of, don't worry, Mr. Plumber, you can run 30 trucks and you can do massive HVAC stuff and plumbing stuff and stay an expert and all that. And you can learn how to market and sell and operate this really big piece of software all at the same time. And
Right.
the answer is that's nonsense, but they try anyways. And that's why I think these companies lose so much money, is because they are fundamentally trying to, they're over promising, under delivering, and they try to paper over it with a lot of slick sales and marketing. But that's just utter nonsense. They're losing every time, and their customers are unsatisfied, and they know it. And when they get out of the contracts, they come fleeing over to somebody who's using HighLevel because they want the outcome, not the software.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you guys focused on the right person, because I think it boils down to economics. Most small businesses, like how we have in our pitch deck, you need to spend about 20 hours, 25 hours a week on marketing through what we offer.
Yeah.
And we can get it down to 2 to 5. But even then, you can't hire a full-time person because, as mentioned, it's only 20 hours. And if you get down to the 5 to 10, you bring on a part-time person, they're spread so thin that they're not invested into your business. So it's just the economics and the time investment for small businesses don't create the opportunity to bring it in-house. And partnering with agencies where their business model relies on offering, a big piece of the software to bring down the cost to partner up, is where I think the beauty and the economics make it ROI positive for everyone in the relationship. So I think your focus on going after the agencies was entirely right, because most businesses, you give them the tool, the hammer, they're not going to know how to build the house. Some will, some might break the code or whatever. But yeah, it's. I think you guys have focused on the right audience.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think the way we know it is simple. It's we see the outcomes that these business owners are looking for come to fruition, and that's how we know we're doing a great job.
Nice. Cool. We're at time. We don't want to take too much of your time today, but before we end, the 3 biggest things that you're excited about in the future, either GoHighLevel or
3. Well, I mean, I feel like I'm really boring these days, but I mean, inbound voice AI. See, the thing about me is I'm never gonna not tell you the most exciting thing out of the gate. I'm just that kind of guy. So I love the inbound voice AI. I think it's going to be the biggest game changer. I think the AI infusion inside the tools in general is going to be great, because it's going to allow Sass-preneurs to do more for their clients faster. In fact, we're expanding that team considerably. I think we're adding 50 engineers just on the AI side of the house. And that's pretty considerable, because we've got, oh gosh, how many do we have now? I think we have 400 so far. We'll have 500 by the end of 2025 at least. And so I think that is super exciting. I'm really excited about the international expansion. I think that's going to be big for us. And I'm also excited for the expansion of the management stuff. So, we started sales and marketing, but I know I've seen this now where we can help Sass-preneurs take the next step of all of the sort of management applications that people use, those operations things, especially in places like home services. We just came up with custom objects, which I think are going to really enable us to do things like create routable jobs. So I think in very short order, we're going to be attacking a lot of these sort of niche specific management tools that a lot of these small businesses are running. And so we'll be able to not only take over CRM and marketing and all of that, but we're also going to be taking over all of the back office stuff. And then even like weird stuff, like we'll be adding SIP endpoints, which is very complex, but really just means you'll be able to start adding hard phones to the system. So you'll be able to actually start attacking the phone systems of some of these small businesses as well. So again, I think the vision for 2025 is, how can I make sure that, again, I'm continuing to add more value to you guys so that you can really go into a business and literally from the desk on the phone on the desk all the way through to the operations and management of that business, you can replace all those tools for that small business and get rid of all their software and replace it just with yours. I think that's really the goal for 2025.
I love it. I love that you start with AI and end it with a phone on a desk. It's like the
I know. Well, that's what I love, is that I think going back to the old school stuff is just as important as the fancy, sexy, exciting AI stuff. Because I think those, it's the completeness of the solution, and it's also just realizing that, like, some people are all about AI, and it's, people like us, we're very nerdy, but some people will not adopt that for a very long time, or adopt it really, I think, at all. It will simply be adopted behind the scenes on their behalf and power many of the touch points that they're already aware of and use today, because they're not interested in moving beyond those touch points. But we might see some value there for them. And if we can put that, and again, this goes back to the Sass-preneur concept, we are the people who are going to create the value for the client. The tool itself does not do that. And we never put the expectation on the client that they have to then become an expert in technology or software or AI to really create great values. They need to actually, if anything, they need to stay being the experts that they are in what they do. Their craft is important, because if it wasn't, they wouldn't have a business to begin with, right? So our mission is to support them, not try to replace what they're already doing with something else. They've already got enough work to do in what they're experts at.
Absolutely. Perfect place to wrap it up, Shaun, man. We really appreciate the time. Really
Absolutely.
appreciate you jumping on, and we're excited about where you're going and where we can go with it. So best of luck to you.
Likewise.
We'll be in touch for sure in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a good morning.
You too.
Appreciate it.